Students, welcome all once again in my channel English Tutorial with Rachna. So here today I am with you to teach you the 7th chapter of your English book Honeydew, A Visit to Cambridge. So dear student, without spending much time, I would like to give a brief introduction of this chapter and then I'll start the explanation of the chapter. First of all, let me tell something about the chapter. So this chapter, A Visit to Cambridge, is written by Firdaus Kanga. Now who is Firdaus Kanga? He is a writer. And journalist. From where? From Mumbai in India. And he was born with brittle bones. Now, do you know what does it mean by brittle bones? That tended, like brittle bones are such bones which breaks very easily. Okay, so that is why when he was born, he was there with the brittle bones, and those breaks very easily when he was very young, and this is how he became disabled. Okay, the legend gives us a glimpse of the meeting between Firdaus Kanga and Stephen Hawking. I know that you must be very well aware with Stephen Hawking, this name. And in this chapter, after studying this chapter, I'm sure that you will have a good understanding about Stephen Hawking's feelings and other part. One of the greatest scientists of our time who suffered from a form of paralysis that confined him to a wheelchair and allowed him to speak only by punching buttons on his computer, which speaks for him in a machine like voice. Both these men, Firdaus Kanga and Stephen Hawking, moved around in wheelchair and they had a nice conversation. During this conversation, Firdaus Kanga, what he felt during this conversation, he has shared all the conversation with you all reader, and his feeling, that how did he feel and what he gained after this meeting. It was during Firdaus Kanga's visit to Cambridge that they met each other. Okay, now let me explain the stanza paragraph wise explanation. Yes, so dear student, let me read the paragraph first. Cambridge was my metaphor for England, and it was strange that when I left it had become altogether something else, because I had met Stephen Hawking there. Now, in the very first line, in the very first sentence, Firdaus Kanga tells you that since early time, Cambridge is like visiting whole England for Firdaus Kanga, because it was like if you have visited Cambridge, you have visited whole England. So Cambridge is like a metaphor for England for Firdaus Kanga, and it is very strange for him that once when he visited Cambridge, it left on him an unforgettable impact, because this time when he visited Cambridge, he met a very you can say very peculiar personality, very strange personality, who is Stephen Hawking. So let's elaborate the story. It was a walking tour through Cambridge that the guide mentioned Stephen Hawking, poor man, who is quite disabled now, though he is a worthy successor to Isaac Newton, whose chair has at the university. Now, when he visited Cambridge, okay, and when his tour guide was making him visit Cambridge, and he was sitting on the walking, okay, in his wheelchair, and was visiting the different places of Cambridge. At that time, his guide told him about Stephen Hawking. In fact, he reminded him about Stephen Hawking. And how did he remind? Let me say in the guide words. He said that poor man who is quite disabled now. What he said? He said that he addressed him as poor man and said that now he is a disabled now person. So For Firdaus Kanga, it's very shocking because uh, Stephen Hawking is not a ordinary person. In fact, he is a worthy successor of Isaac Newton. You know, Isaac Newton is the greatest personality. He is the greatest astrophysicist, and now next to him it was Stephen Hawking. Okay, so how can anyone use such words for him that he is a poor man, because he is such a notable person. Now, moving towards the next paragraph. And I started because I had quite forgotten that this most brilliant and completely paralyzed astrophysicist, the author of A Brief History of Time, one of the biggest bestseller ever lived. And what the writer is saying, that in fact at that time he himself forgot about him when his guide mentioned him, and at the same time he just remembered about him, Stephen Hawking, who is the author of a very well known book of that time, A Brief History of Time, that is the best selling book at that time. Okay. When the walking tour was done, I rushed to a phone booth and, almost tearing the cord so it could reach me outside, phoned Stephen Hawking's house. And now there was a great desire, that was an earnest desire in Firdaus Kanga's heart to visit Stephen Hawking once he remembered about him, and he was there in Cambridge at the time. Okay. There was his assistant on the line, and I told him I had come in the wheelchair from India. Perhaps he thought I had propelled myself in all the way to write about my travels in Britain. I had to see Professor Hawkins. Even 10 minutes would do. Half an hour, he said, from 3:30 to 4. And as I told you, as Firdaus Kanga wanted to meet Stephen Hawking, after his visit to Cambridge, he rushed towards the phone booth. It means he went towards the phone booth hurriedly so that he could make a call at Professor Hawkins' home. When he called, assistant of Professor Hawkins picked up the phone, and then Firdaus Kanga told him that he had come from India, as he is a writer and he had come from India to write about his travels in Britain, and in this regard he wanted to meet Stephen Hawking. Okay, so in fact Firdaus Kanga told, he requested, saying to the assistant that if he would allow for 10 minutes, okay, then also it would work. Because why he said like this, because he knew, he was worried if the assistant would deny, saying that he is not free or anything like this. So before the assistant could say anything, he himself said that even 10 minutes would do. Okay, so but what the assistant replied, he replied that no, he could meet him for half an hour, and he gave the appointment from 3:30 to 4. And suddenly I felt weak all over. Growing up disabled, you get fed up with people asking you to be brave, as as if you have a courage account on which you are too lazy to draw a check. The only thing that makes you stronger is seeing somebody like you achieving something huge. Then you know how much is possible, and you reach out further than you ever thought you could. Now, what Feroz Kanga has told, as soon as he got the appointment to meet Stephen Hawking, after that moment he started feeling weak to think about his meeting with Stephen Hawking, that how would he react. And now he has told to the readers that it's not very easy to grow up as disabled, because when you are disabled, anyone whom you meet, all the people seems to say you that you must have courage, you must have courage, you must be brave. And they say it very easily, as if the disabled people have a courage account, but they are not very active. They are so lazy that they do not want to sign or to draw a check. So here, as you know that Firdaus Kanga is a writer, he is an author. So in a very literary manner, ironical manner, he has passed a satire on those people who say to disabled people to be brave. Okay, and now, what in Firdaus Kanga's opinion, what makes a people stronger? What makes a disabled people stronger when they see someone like them? In fact, when they see another disabled person achieving something huge, okay, when they see any disabled person who has achieved great things in his life, then that give the other disabled person a great relief, because they can feel that if the other disabled person can get those chances and can they get those achievements, so there is some possibility for them too. So this is what Firdaus Kanga's opinion about giving get feeling relief for disabled people. Moving further, here what he said in the next paragraph: I haven't been brave, said his disembodied computer voice. The next afternoon, I have had no choice. Now, he has shared with you all the readers his conversation, what he had with Stephen Hawking. When in the next afternoon, Firdaus Kanga in reality met with Stephen Hawking and asked this question, that how do you feel when people say you to be brave? Are you brave? Okay, when Firdaus Kanga asked these questions to Stephen Hawking, let's see what did he reply. What Stephen Hawking replied, he said that I haven't been brave. I was never brave. This is what he means. Okay, and he's saying that the voice come from where? The voice come from the computer voice, because you know that Stephen Hawking was not able to speak. So how did he communicate with the people? He would press some buttons on the computer screen with his with the some movement that is left in the one hand of his body. So with one hand he would press some of the buttons, and those button would convert Stephen Hawking's language in the computer language, and then computer would speak for Stephen Hawking. Okay, so this is how he would communicate with people. So about being brave, what his opinion is, that he was never brave, but he said that he had no choice. Okay, in fact, there was no choice for Stephen Hawking, except in spite of getting those achievements. Surely, I wanted to say, living creatively with the reality of his disintegrating body was a choice. But I kept quiet because I felt guilty every time I spoke to him, forcing him to respond. Now, listening this, Firdaus Kanga felt that how could he say that he hadn't any choice? He had lived such a creative life that any other ordinary person or any other normal person cannot imagine, to live such a great and achievable life that he has lived, that Stephen Hawking has lived. And he is saying that he hadn't any choice, and his though his body is such an disintegrate body, it's not integrated from anywhere. It means it was you can say disintegrated means it was not joined properly from anywhere. His body was broken from many places. But I kept quiet. But Firdaus Kanga did not say this, because he was feeling guilty every time whenever he was asking any questions to Stephen Hawking and was forcing him to speak anything. There, there he was tapping at the little switch in his hand, trying to find the words on his computer with the only bit of movement left to him, his long, pale fingers. Okay, now Firdaus Kanga is telling to you how Stephen Hawking was communicating, how he was telling his words. Okay, so he would tap some of the little switches which was there in his hand, and with the help of those switches would convert Stephen Hawking's word into computer wires, and then those words would come to the next person, to the person next to Stephen Hawkins. And where was the movement left in his body? Only in his one hand's long and pale fingers. There was little movement left in his body. Every so often his eyes would shut in frustrated exhaustion, and sitting opposite to him, I could feel his anguish, the mind buoyant with thoughts that come out in frozen phrases and sentences stiff as corpses. Now, Firdaus Kangas says that when he was sitting next to him at that time, he could feel his pain. Anguish means pain, okay? So he could feel his pain, that how difficult for a person that whose mind is so active, whose mind is so buoyant, okay? Yes, whose mind is so full of thoughts. Buoyant means full of thoughts. So his mind, Stephen Hawking's so active mind, which was full of thought, but Stephen Hawking was not able to express his thoughts properly because of his disintegrated and a frozen body, you can say. It was frozen like an ice, okay, and he could communicate very less.